And start recording. So, hello everybody, and welcome to July's Accessible Maths Working Group. Nice to see so many people and some new faces, which is always exciting. We like new faces. It's been a couple of busy months and lots of people have signed up, so welcome to all the new people. So we thought we'd, I'm going to again just stick it in the chat, I just did it, but the link to today's agenda. We thought we could start with a kind of slightly standard, what are we currently working on? It's the summer, so everyone has interns, it's summer of interns. Are there any interns here? Interns were invited, did anyone bring their intern? Or maybe not. Oh well. Yeah, there's a table. Feel free to, in our kind of slightly standard way, pick a row. Who are you? Where are you? And what are your aims for the summer? What are you and your interns working on? And then we can go back and read what other people are doing. Feel free to stick in links. And yeah, show what we're doing. Always a good thing to do. So feel free to keep typing, but let's have a look. So we've got Vincenzo from Leeds. Hello, new person. Thank you for coming today. And looking to improve bookml. So some guidance for making lecture notes accessible. Any comments you want to mention that for a second, Vincenzo, or anyone else got any comments they'd like to?
Yeah, I mean, the only useful thing I can say is that we've been discovering recently that because bookml is based on LaTeX-ML, and LaTeX-ML is so good now that basically we can get new stuff just importing whatever LaTeX they have, putting it in, and they get a reasonably working output out in HTML form. And yeah, so in the fall we're going to try to get hopefully everybody using it, this or maybe Bookdown, whatever they, if they prefer to use something else, something else, to convert everything that we have to HTML in the Thai school. So we see how that goes in September.
So I think there were lots of people here who would attest to that being a slightly uphill battle. But yeah, and I can speak from personal experience. Your guidance in particular is very good. It helped me last year. So yeah, nice to see it still being worked on. Cool. So then we have Lancaster, Daniel Brown, looking at the models, active in the sum, which sounds very, very fun and very interesting, but maybe not a discussion for right now. And we're picking up some year 2 modules, looking at stats. Yeah, often when people retire, their lecture notes are the lecture notes they've been working on for years. So it's interesting to change that. Interesting to see it's currently in a Word file. I think later on we're going to talk a bit about Word and its accessibility. But I think, yeah, generally I'm guessing from the year 2 stats modules, you probably don't want to be using Word. That probably is a bit too mathsy for Word.
No, I definitely want to ditch Word. I'm trying to work out, I've been looking at the Blackboard Ultra stuff and wondering whether to just go directly into it, as that seems to be the, or seems to be a future, or whether I want to go via LaTeX, as I have with all my other modules.
Yeah, so I suppose it's the interesting thing there of the balance of kind of having everything in one format for you, but also what's best for the actual content itself.
I mean, there may be some interesting options for interactivity as well if I go into Blackboard Ultra. So we will see.
Definitely worth seeing the outcome of that.
I suppose that thing being is that the last doors to be commissioned on that will be in 2027. So is that I start? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry, David.
Cool. So we have Josh Lim, Bath, presenting, accessibility presenting. I think this is actually a really interesting thing. Having been to all the conferences, there were some brilliantly fun examples of people talking about accessibility in the least accessible presentations I have seen of all time. So I definitely think there needs to be a bit of work with accessibility presentations. It'd be interesting to hear about how that feeds in. Anyone want to chip in there?
I would be very interested to see the outputs of that. It's one thing that I am trying to develop myself. Recently, we've been supporting a blind academic at the University of Southampton, and there are so many small nuances which we hadn't considered until we actually started to interact with someone in a virtual space, in virtual meetings. Even small things like announcing my name when I started speaking. Like, I realized I didn't do that this time. I should have said, Luke Sell. There's some small nuances here, and I'd be really, really interested to see the output of that, Josh. It's definitely maybe some practices that we could look to improve hosting these meetings as well. Yeah,
so Josh Lim from the University of Bath, taking your cue there, Luke. But yeah, so I think this is trying to obviously bring some of the stuff around, obviously, the actual slides, making them, highlighting some of those the existing resources that are out there. But like you said, there's a lot in terms of actually that kind of the presentation stuff, how you deliver things, and kind of as this, as a package, and also bearing in mind that generally most of our lectures are recorded. Meetings as well, online, things, and actually, then we are creating, a digital resource as well, which also needs to be, well, should be accessible as well. So yeah, there's lots of sort of bits there, as well as that that live stuff, as well as just a lot of the things around accessibility are just good practice anyway. So we're trying to make something that's not that's going to be easy for staff to get on with, kind of some micro learning things, and just kind of chunk it into little bits. And we've got working away on that at the moment. And thank you for people putting useful links there. We'll definitely pass those on.
Yeah, it's always useful to build links up. So yeah, feel free to keep adding links, everyone. Excellent. Oh, let's not go too far. Luke, you're migrating courses. That sounds hideous.
Oh yes, we are. We've decided this summer's the summer, so we're migrating our year 1 semester 1 courses before September, October start, and then in the crossover between semester 1 and semester 2, we're then going to try and do our semester 2 or our year 2 semester 1 courses then. But we have a lot of, as I'm sure all of these other universities do as well, we have quite a lot of year 1 modules, and they range a lot in the types of content that they actually have on them. So it's not so much of an accessibility point of view, it's more of this is just a huge scope of work that we have throughout the summer. The other thing that is maybe more focused on accessibility, this summer I'm hosting 2 accessibility ally interns. So they are working with us to improve the accessibility scores. So we use Blackboard Ally or Anthology Ally now to measure the accessibility score of some of the content. And we're using them to sort of target specific modules based on their criteria, and then hopefully improve their accessibility scores, but most importantly, improve the learner experience as well. Because we know that the metrics aren't everything. We just want better courses to be designed. But they are on week 2 of their internship at the moment, and I've got them for 3 months. So I'm going to bring them on to the next meeting rather than straight off the bat as soon as they join.
Probably fairer to them than throwing them in at the deep end. Cool. So yeah, then we've got a bit of testing more tools, raising awareness, the kind of standard background I feel gets done. We try and all do all the time, particularly in the summer when we maybe have a bit more time to play with more fun tools and things. Are you trying any, Jill? Are you trying anything particularly new with digital accessibility, or is it just the kind of age-old grind of us? You yell it again and again.
It is a bit, but I was just interested. I was just typing something in actually in response to Luke, because we use Blackboard Ally, and we normally put most of our effort into getting the academic staff involved and knowing how to improve their content and getting them to promote it to students, because we can't talk to students directly. But one thing that we've never really succeeded in is getting the students to try different ranges of formats. So it's about 99% PDF, tagged PDF, and we think that that's not about being more accessible to them, but it's just, well, it is, but not for it's more that the productivity tools they use, they can pull in a PDF and scroll all over it, and that's why they use it. So it's kind of getting better use from the students. And we did have a little spin-off project, which I think may have originally come from the predecessors of this group. We did start working on giving students more information about the different formats, but haven't really finished that off. So interesting to know what other people do around that.
Do you have the the translated versions enabled?
The tagged PDF is what they download, but I don't really know that they know what they're downloading or why they're downloading it. They just all go for that option.
Okay. Yeah, it's difficult as well with the Blackboard alternative formats. We typically recommend uploading Microsoft Office formats for a lot of the content, which are largely more accessible than any automatic kind of populated format can be. So yeah, I wonder it's more about usability rather than accessibility with those alternative formats.
I think so.
Yeah. Sharon, you've got your hand up.
Yes, we found that students really love the PDFs because they are space savers on their mobile phones. There's a lot of not translate, but converting teachers' PowerPoints to PDFs. One, so they can download it on their mobile phone, and two, the PDFs are often have fewer, they're much smaller file sizes than things like Word documents, very often. So you talked about usability, and we're finding that is a reason that many people use PDFs, even though they're horribly inaccessible, right? There is a carrot for the PDFs. That's all I had to say. There's a reason that, you know, you're not going to get them to go wholesale. The more accessible. And of course, preparing PDFs is not for the faint of heart when it comes to accessibility.
No.
Thank you.
I think that's a good point too. I think we often talk about students liking PDF because of familiarity, but actually, yeah, there is a kind of practical reason, as they are often smaller files, even compared to, HTML tend to be much larger files. So yeah, that's a kind of good point that's not raised all that often. So yeah, thank you. Cool. So then we have, everyone's written. Rebecca and Steve, who are kind of both playing with new tools and there we go, testing new tools and playing new tools. There have been lots of conferences recently, and I know I've got a long list of tech that I now want to go play with, and I've found time. So yeah, nice to see when we've got the summer and we've got a bit of time playing with that. Okay, then we're creating more accessibilities, more accessible lecturing materials, using various materials, always a good thing to do in the summer when we've got a bit of time. Again, feel free to jump in if anyone has any comments here, but in the interests of time, I thought I might go on a bit. Again, and Charlotte also trying to push staff to convert things from LaTeX to HTML. Oh, there we go, onto one page.
Quickly to say hello, because this is my first meeting. So hi, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, so I'm in the University of Edinburgh in the School of Maths. And yeah, we've been doing this project since January, so we did have interns over the semester. And they did basically a lot of the kind of playing with the tools and all the things that are available, and kind of documented what works and what doesn't. So now we're at the step of we picked basically a couple of methods because we thought that would be easier to document those very well, to test them thoroughly, and then to convince other people to use them. So yeah, we've been working on this project for a while, so we're looking forward to to the rest. Just to answer the question, the advantages of Chiron over Archivist. Archivist seem to just produce one single page document, which might be fine. Chiron is a bit more, there's definitely more structure to the document. So for kind of big, we have colleagues with like 200+ pages of course notes, which I don't think would be necessarily very digestible in one single document. Yeah, they both like produce output that looks absolutely fine. And then that works surprisingly well, actually. I was quite surprised. It's been really nice to see that Chiron has been in active development as well.
Excellent, nice to hear some successes too. Yeah, good. Looking to use new teaching, looking to bring back, creating more information to share with teaching staff, and using new technology is always a good thing to do. Emily in Brighton. I'm writing a small website offering accessibility guidance for some support workers, which hopefully should be useful, but I will probably have that more completed by the next meeting, so we can save that then. David, we are trying new things. We like trying new things, trying to incorporate accessibility features with Quarto. Yeah, and again, it's always useful to do this development with the idea of new users and new lecturers alongside that. Cool. And then Sharon. Sorry, got distracted by letting someone in. There we go. Long descriptions, that mountain. Yes, describing graphs. Writing.
I also have a favor to ask of the group. If you could give me a reality check on something.
Absolutely.
And also be aware, I have to approach this as a business analyst, not an accessibility specialist. The job now belongs to someone else. But I made the claim, and it's what I believe, that we are actually, because of the long description going away, we are actually hurting our efforts when we put in short descriptions for graphs and all the technologies that are available to us. I'm including the little short spaces in Microsoft Word. I'm including Ally. I'm including PowerPoint. There's only like 120 characters available, and that doesn't do a service to actually describing a graph for learning purposes. So I've been making the claim, God forbid, that this is actually hurting true learning in from an accessibility standpoint, because all you're getting is basically a title of the graph. You're not getting any explanations. And it's a pretty big bad thing to say, hey, we're actually doing more harm than good by checking off boxes, but not providing follow-on explanations. And just can I get a reality check from the group on this?
Absolutely. So when I'm providing alternative descriptions for complex charts and graphs, in the short alternative description, so the normal alt text or the traditional alt text window, I would typically give the title of the graph and any major trends that it's then showing. Underneath that graph, either directly underneath or at least a hyperlink underneath, I would then include a sample of the sort of data table, so someone can then interpret the data represented as a table, which is a bit easier to navigate as opposed to a standard non-interactive graph.
But don't you, one, thank you. I mean, that is exactly part of the training that's going into this. Put put links to can't call it long description, the explanation.
Yes.
But even tables, which are important and should not be left out, that alone is not a fair thing to give somebody who is blind and say, here, go figure it out. Go figure out what the trends are. I understand what the important points of the highs and lows are, and trends are not settled sometimes, right? Or there's, let me rephrase that. There's a lot of subtleties even within general trends that visual people can catch, and those without vision cannot catch. It's no good to say, hey, got a trend going up when you're seeing the dips and curves. There's more variation in the beginning of a trend than there is in the end. That alone is significant, right? So this makes me feel better, but just y'all, if you agree with the statement that tables alone are not enough, they're necessary but not enough. At least two links, one to a table and one to a long description, the human way, not the W3C way.
I think lots of this also depends slightly on the context and what exactly you were trying to show, because sometimes it will be enough to have a table or a selection of the important data points. and other times you need more information. There might be a less clear trend. So yeah, I think it depends a lot on the context.
Okay.
And much people to give descriptions, not just in the alternative text or the long description or even the short description, but in the main text around it. That would help everyone. It's that universal design. We shouldn't just be sticking in a graph without context in the actual text.
And then again, the damage being that we're putting this short, basically title in there. Scores go up by whatever technology is measuring it, because it's got something in there, right? It, you know, the Ally measures it, Microsoft Word measures it, PDFs measures it. You could put gobbledygook in there, and scores are going up and creating a false sense, in my mind, of accessibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have long had issues. Many people will know my long issue. Okay. Yes. So useful things there. Then we have Lillian, who again appears to be from her tent, talking at our studio and making science modules more accessible, particularly for visually impaired students. Excellent. So I think that was very good conversation. And if no one has anything else to add, I will hand over to Luke for a very exciting demo.
Awesome. Okay, just have a quick look through the chat. There seems to be quite a lot going on for Quarto. Quarto is on my to-do list for the summer. It's one of the things I've really not had time to get to, and it's one of the things I really need to find time to get to because it keeps coming up in discussions and conversations. Does anyone know if there's an LTI version for LMSs as well? That's fine. We'll probably just make our own then. That's no problem. Okay, so a little bit of a demo. So some disclaimers before I get started with the demonstration is I can't show you everything that I've done because it takes hours of time to actually do it all. But what I'm going to show you here today is the output of what we've done. It's our hope that we can then scale down this workflow and then we can make it much more sustainable, and then we can start sharing it across our community as well. So I'm just going to share my screen, bring everyone back up, and then I'll talk you through what we've got on the screen. So on screen, we have, yeah, Sharon, your hand is up. No, it's not anymore. No problem. It was still lingering on mine. So on screen, we have a PDF file for, which contains some traditional sort of STEM content. We've got titles. We have some nice STEM content. So we've got some inline math. We've got some heading styles. We've got hyperlinks as well. And as we come on down, we've got images, we've got tables, and we've also got some charts as well. Now, all of this PDF has been compiled straight from LaTeX, so using Overleaf is what we use to compile it. And it's not had any post-remediation whatsoever. So this is straight out of how it comes out from PDF, from Overleaf. The big thing, the big win that we've had recently is we've managed to be able to compile something which actually has some kind of heading styles, which is really nice. So first things first, we've got headers. So for 90% of students, that's going to make the file much easier to actually navigate, particularly if it is a long file. We know we support academics who tend to put the course workbooks together rather than doing the individual problem sheet way. So next up, we have this paragraph text here. And you'll notice straight away, it's all paragraph text, which is, it's not so good. What that means is that a screen reader will try and interpret all of this, but it won't give any of that semantic information or the presentation information to these maths equations. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very quickly open up another version of this file. Downloads, this one. is it? Definitely in here. Is this the one? Yeah, this is very similar. So it's very similar, and the first thing you'll notice from the tagging trees is it's a lot cleaner. There's some hierarchy in here. I've got some sections. I've still got my headings, so I've still got my header ones. If I come down to this one.
To confirm, this is
yes,
generated from Overleaf?
Yeah, straight out of Overleaf, again with no post remediation. So this is just what we've managed to get with the right combination or concoction.
This is amazing. This is amazing.
We're quite happy with the results so far. But what we have now is we have our paragraphs, which are going to be combined as parts. We have it tagged as a paragraph text, but contained within that, we have the actual paragraph containers, and then our math formulas are being contained as math. Now, what this means is if I come to properties of this tag, the actual text is what is read out to somebody using a screen reader straight off the bat. So we have a PDF which has heading structures, alt text, descriptive hyperlinks, as well as having some tagging, which is reasonably accurate. The maths is pretty good. However, in my mind, there is a caveat that your reader needs to really understand LaTeX to understand what is being read aloud to them. So we went further with it. We thought, let's have another win. So using Pandoc, working together with some of our software engineers within our team, we managed to build a web interface for Pandoc. It's currently hosted on a local server, so I can't share that with you today, but I can show you some of the outputs that we have from that. So using Pandoc, we immediately were able to convert it to a HTML file. All of the math is then rendered using MathJax. I'm sure there's some big fans of MathJax in the room. We've got our heading styles. We've still got our images. We can come to inspect, and it all retains all the alt attributes as well. We have our tables, and the tables have been semantically tagged properly as well. So we've got table headers, table rows, which is quite nice. And our hyperlinks still work too. So that was really, really cool. So off the bat, we've got something that works quite well. However, Blackboard Ultra doesn't support HTML files really well. It kind of renders them quite poorly. So we had a quick play at what other file formats might this come to. So we had a go with a Word file. And again, this is with no remediation afterwards. We've managed to get our Word file in here. The only thing that is not pulled through is heading styles. But given how accurate or how quickly you can apply a heading style in Microsoft Word, it shouldn't be too much to actually change that. So what we've got is we've got all of the equations are then rendered with the Office equation editor. We have our image down here, which still should retain its alternative descriptions. We've got our hyperlink back up here, which still has still a hyperlink. We can still get to the right place, which is pretty neat. And our table as well. If I'm correct, it should have a heading row denoted, repeat header rows. Wait. It's just that one. There we go. Yes, and it's got a header row as well. So without any more remediation, this has worked really well. There are some caveats with this. We got really excited really quickly, and we were like, what's the scale of this? Does this work for everything? And the answer is, of course not. Nothing in the world would be that good. But it means we tried it with some larger tech files, things with like custom macros, much more niche LaTeX packages, things you won't find on CTAN, and some custom things like that. And it didn't work all that well. Once there was more in the file for it to process, it got confused and it would start tagging things in a rogue kind of way. So now instead what we've got is we've got a way that we can publish more accessible worksheets as long as they are kept simple. And I think that's my big takeaway from this process is this only works if you keep things simple, which in the world of STEM accessibility, I know it's difficult, but it's it's something we're all striving for, isn't it? Really, it's to, if we can keep it simple, then we can train as many people as possible to make progress in this area. Cool.
Thank you, Luke. I think we've got 2 questions. Does Charlotte want to go first?
Yes, thank you. Just coming back on the Blackboard Ultra support of HTML, is that when with like just adding content and just pasting HTML? Because what we've tried with the Chiron output is basically uploading the entire site, just a set of HTML pages, as a folder in the content collection, and then sticking the index.html as like, you know, basically a file.
Okay.
And then that literally works perfectly because it just, you know, opens in a new window, and that's your whole HTML site with all bells and whistles.
Oh wow! Does it present quite well, or is it like responsive as well?
Exactly as you have it.
Ooh.
Because it gets out of Blackboard essentially.
Oh,
but
amazing.
then it retains all the sort of authentication and permissions.
I might be able to demo that for you if you give me 30 seconds.
Yes, please. This is the.
Can I just say that workflow may only work for those of us who have the right permissions on Blackboard. So not every tutor. So Alexandra, who's on the call, will know we had to set her permission so she could upload files to the content collection and have the MathJack script, basically the scripting run, and the students can see it. But not every lecturer has had that enabled for them. I don't know if it's true in your organizations.
From what we've tried on kind of various playground courses where we might have basically more permissions, that seems to work fine. But that's definitely, you know, if it's a solution that works fine, then my next move would be to lobby very hard with the learning technologists to have that available widely. Can I ask just another question related to the last bit you said about keeping LaTeX simple? That's also been basically our main concern throughout this project we're doing here. We sort of wanted to find a method that required the least amount of changing existing source files as possible, because we really want people to actually engage with this. So we kind of went the other way and tried to find a solution that was as compatible as possible with people's, you know, massive style files and preambles and macros. One thing I wanted to look into, and I wonder if anyone knows about this, is there a way for when, like, you know, compiling some output from a tech file, presumably at some point the macros and commands and things get expanded. I'm wondering if there's a way to capture that step of the output, because at that point, you know, it's going to be a very unwieldy piece of tech markup, but, you know, with no macros and substitutions and custom commands. I wonder if that would kind of play more nicely.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think from the top of my head, so we've used Pandoc for these file conversions here. Pandoc will expand the outputs of your own declarations, but it won't keep that expanded. It will then substitute it back down for the output file. And I don't know if there is a way to almost put like a flag halfway through to say keep this expanded so we can see what's actually going on, because I'm always a bit unsure as to what's been processed as a macro and what's actually just been passed over. I'll make a note. That's a really, really good question. Thank you.
Vincenzo, do you have your hand up?
Yes, yes. I wanted to make well. I mean, one thing would be for just look. Can you show us what code did you use to let Overleaf make these documents first? I think it's going to be one line at the top, but I would like to, you know, I think it would be nice to see it, because it should be simple. But of course, the other thing I want to say two things that I've written in the chat already. one is PDF tagging is still extremely experimental, and I would recommend against using it in production, because it relies on your screen, your PDF reader actually understanding it, and Acrobat itself doesn't understand all of the nuances of the PDF tagging as is done by PDF LaTeX now, because PDF LaTeX is using the new standard 2.0 PDF. Screen readers don't understand it. That's a point you made already. And of course, the final thing is HTML is way more functional for accessibility. So I'm a strong. I want to advocate for that.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to say this because I've seen people jumping on accessibility packages in the last few years, and they keep saying, "Oh, you should use the accessibility package," and even those packages tell you, "Don't use me."
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet people jump on it. So I just wanted to sort of say this is super cool, but it's going to be maybe one or two. I don't know if you're in touch with the developers who are doing this work. How much you know with that. So sorry for I'm kind of ruining the thing.
No,
so,
no. You bring up very valuable
but
points.
the second conversion from the PDF to something else, that was impressive though.
Yeah. I think the reason, so we were discussing it right at the very start of the meeting, the reason why I think so many of us still default to PDF over HTML is simply because of the usability rather than the accessibility. Students will want a file which they can draw over the top of, it replicates that pen and paper in a digital format, whereas HTML, for the life of me, it just hasn't captured like a digital whiteboarding sense in any way. And I always get a bit frustrated with digital whiteboarding and like online drawing and all of that, because it should be so good by now. It should be, but it's so poor in terms of even like handwriting recognition. Only now are we getting to a point where we can get a reasonable kind of output from some handwriting, even on simple one-page pieces of math. Absolutely. David, your hand is up.
See if I'm too loud in the background. Yeah, this is why kind of in stuff I've been doing, I'm very much kind of trying to create both HTML and PDF. So using like Quarto, so that I can, my target is HTML really, but I work hard to make sure that the PDF that comes out, the one is compiled by LaTeX in the background, still works nicely.
Yeah.
Because there isn't an answer yet to like annotations on HTML. Doesn't exist yet really nicely.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And I think I don't think Christian's not here today, doesn't it like, but that's also one of the big benefits of Chiron, is you get both of those file versions.
The other issue is that people are talking about the issues of uploading HTMLs to different blackboards and canvas and stuff like that. The other issue there is that, like, if you can try and make one HTML with all the content hidden inside it to try and get around some of the issues, but then you're talking about a massive file. So ordinarily you want to upload a whole directory full of sub-files, but it becomes some of the permissions nightmare. It can be. I've never had a problem getting it to work, but it's temperamental in both Moodle and in Blackboard.
Yes, I know from my own personal experience, one thing that took me maybe, well, I can say I'm amongst friends. It took me about 2 weeks to work out how to actually convert the file in an automatic sense to base64 to have it embedded as a standalone HTML file. It took me an embarrassing amount of time to wrap my head around what was trying to happen at that point, but we did manage it in the end. Yes, David, your hand's up again. Awesome. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, I don't have the LaTeX compilation on this device, but it's on my workstation. So tomorrow, it's Monday today, tomorrow afternoon around 1 o'clock, I will send an update via the mailing list of the little snippet of what we've included in the HTML, in the LaTeX, so you can all have a test in your own overleaf packages as well. Awesome. Amazing. And back to you, Cordelia, if there's no other questions in the chat.
I don't think so. I think we've cool. It kind of segues slightly into, well, from what you've done. Yeah, it's interesting you did this conversion to Word at the end, and I know from there's been lots of chat, the various conferences and various conversations I've had with people. I know there's a lot of chat about the accessibility of Microsoft Word at the moment. So this isn't going to work. I think we can all appreciate, let's get it out of the way now. It is not going to work for your high-end maths courses. Do not use Word. Please do not use Word. But for that kind of middle space of maybe one end of physics, a way to kind of, more social sciences, maybe bits of biology, chemistry, where we're still using maths and other STEM notation, but maybe less densely packed in. Word. Does anyone have any, I know Lillian's been doing some stuff with Word. Does anyone have any feelings about how Word's changed? I think Word got dismissed a long time ago, and I know things have changed.
Sorry, there's a lot. The problem with working in a tent is that the guy's mowing the grass outside. I think I can think now. Yeah, I mean, I've just put it in the chat. I wonder if it would be easier for us all to always devise this. Maybe it's a grid of just 3x3 grid. What kind of maths are we talking about? Because I don't think it helps the average person jumping into these calls when we just talk about maths and the PDF. Because as Cordelia says, for some people, Word is like the most accessible. They can note take, they can do this and that. But then with pure maths, they need to see these super long, huge equations and stuff, and it may not be feasible to use, So I think, I don't know who has the math skills in here to kind of try and work out, like you say, for most first year type lecturers, this might be good enough. But once you start to get into, I don't know, Cordelia, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I know we've had this conversation a lot. I think probably most maths courses taught by a maths department, and probably the first year physics course that could be taught by the maths department but it's taught by the physics department. That course, I think you're probably always going to have to use LaTeX input, almost just because of the quantity to the more than anything else. But I think there's definitely bits of economics, bits of maybe those courses that we in this group don't talk about very often, the kind of sociology where they have to go and do a load of statistics for some study, but they're not necessarily too interested in what's behind the statistics. I mean, that pains me as a mathematician to say, but there are people out there who do maths without necessarily knowing too much about the maths. In which case it's definitely more interesting to see the maths. I'm going to come back to you, Sharon, because I know Morgane has done some interesting stuff here, so it'd be good to hear from her.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm not quite sure exactly what your question is, Cordelia, but I would say I think the reason why people might use Word against LaTeX or LaTeX against Word is personal rather than discipline. Certainly at the University of Aberdeen, I've got people using LaTeX in all sorts of disciplines, and that, obviously people in our School of Natural and Computing Science, most of them will use LaTeX. So all of the math department use LaTeX. Most of the physics department use LaTeX, but hardly anybody in the chemistry department. Engineering is a mixed bag. Economics, some of them will use LaTeX, some of them will use Word, and same for the other disciplines. So I don't think it's necessarily about discipline. It's probably about personal history and choices. Going back to Word, yes, you're right, Cordelia. I've recently, so just to introduce, this group has grown widely since I last was able to connect. So maybe a bit of introduction. I'm the math support advisor at the University of Aberdeen and have kind of taken on the accessibility hat, originally looking at LaTeX only because nobody else could do it in the e-learning tech team that we had. Nobody had the LaTeX knowledge, no other math knowledge. But recently I got sort of dragged into a project where I was looking at converting or looking at the accessibility of our Access Math course, which is entirely written in Word, where the math has been written with math type. So certainly my take-home message would be that if you're using Word, there is no guarantee that accessibility will be either better or that it will be easier for you to make your math content more accessible. So certainly now, because when I originally worked with e-learning people and staff, I would hear the problem is because you use LaTeX. And now I can say, no, the problem is that we haven't yet come up with an easy response, accessibility answer to mathematical text. So, I mean, I'm happy to come up and show a little bit what we've done at the University of Aberdeen around Word, but I would say one problem with Word is that you need to have all sorts of software working on your machine. And I guess then the accessibility is that if your institution doesn't have institution licenses for this software, okay, we're not talking about necessarily technical accessibility, but then, you still have the accessibility that you don't have insurance that your students will have exactly the piece of software that's required for them to read the piece of math in your text if they wish to.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Thank you. You can't just, Word's not self-contained yet from a maths accessibility point of view. Just your other point too, when I was doing lots of accessible support work for students across maths and physics, actually, often these students would ask for their notes to be in Word because they're familiar with it, because they know how to edit it, they know how it works. So I know there's very little research done in this, and I'm quite interested to do some myself about how students take notes and what they then use with them, but often they do use Word because that's what they did at school, that's what they use, that's what they know. Sharon.
I just want to echo exactly what you said. I mean, if we stopped using Word, we would lose a lot of our accessible initiatives here at our university, because our faculty for the lower level math, they integrate math type and other plugins that are specifically geared to be for accessibility, particularly the chemistry department. We would hurt significantly if we didn't use Word as far as math accessibility. But I want to make a bigger point. I'm a believer, not so much in Word, but I am a believer in Microsoft. One of the details of my project is to take advantage of Microsoft's Bing browser, which identifies and describes visual components of graphs. I haven't seen any of the other AIs be able to do it as well and as completely as Microsoft Bing, right? And I've kind of been following Microsoft as a company. Many years ago, when I was working directly with somebody who had multiple disabilities, he had to rely on Dragon Naturally Speaking to, interact with his machine. And of course, everybody, I think here, it was cruel because Dragon Naturally Speaking did not promote itself as assistive technology, but it was the only game in town for speech to interacting, with a document. Well, Microsoft bought it. I never heard anything further about it. Dragon is still a company. It still promotes itself as a cloud supplier of the technology. That said, we at the university got a different product, something a big, huge screen for crowds. I can't think, just a giant screen that for classrooms that everybody could envision. And I started working with it, and I started using some of the commands that Dragon Naturally Speaking used to speak to the screen, and found that it had incorporated the things that that person with disabilities would have used to edit a screen, and since became much more accessible. All right. So I'm not throwing out Word. I'm not throwing out anything Microsoft, because although, I mean, yeah, I 1,000,000% agree. It's not a solution for everything, but it's a solution for a lot. And it is in particular, I'm finding, a solution for those who have to speak in order to interact with their equipment. And I am finding it the best solution right now in its AI for describing graphs and other visually complex images. That's all. Just a defender.
Cool. No, thank you. That's really useful and something we hadn't considered. In the last minute, Lillian, do you want to just pop in for literally a minute?
Yeah, I think going back to the original primer that I created many years ago, which needs expanding, which was just a table. It's like you have lecturers with lots of different approaches. You have to accommodate them all. And then at the other end, you have learners who need all kinds of different formats. You have to accommodate them all. So I think we're not in competition. We are in parallel. And it's lovely to hear maybe who's working on Word? Where have you got to with your thinking? Who's working on LaTeX to HTML? What's happening on your thinking? And I think if we channel that, it will be less confusing for people who join us from the beginning. Maybe. I mean, Cordelia and and Luke have always battled this. How do we help people who just joined this group to work out what we're talking about? Right, I better go.
Thank you. Yeah, and actually that links to something that we don't have time for, and I will bring up the next meeting, although I am going to grab Luke and discuss it with him now. But I want to get a snapshot of this group, where we are, where we're working with, because I think the next step for the whole sector is a lot more working together. I think we're all doing lots of really interesting stuff, and we're talking about it, but we're not necessarily working together and in the best possible ways and seeing what we could build together rather than in parallel. So watch this space about maybe some thoughts about how we can best do that. Thank you all for coming. I know we're running over. See you all next time, hopefully.
Can we also save the information in this chat? I don't see a way to, if you would, if you email us recording and chat, that would be
I can download the chat.
Everything. Thank you. We love you guys.
Have a nice week, and I guess we'll see you all in September.